Hi, welcome to the Larson Health Podcast, where we talk about health and nutrition. Let's begin walking into your kitchen. If you open up your supplement cabinet and you count all the bottles that are in your medicine or your vitamin cabinet, maybe you have a bottle of calcium, vitamin D, maybe a glucosamine for your knees, maybe a multivitamin you've been taking since maybe your 30s because your mother took one. How about a fish oil that may or may not be past its prime? If you're burping from it, it's probably not past, it's probably past its prime. So let's focus. How about a focus powder? Maybe you bought it after a wellness podcast convinced you it would sharpen your mind. If you're like most of the women I coach, that shelf represents real money, real hope, and a deep, sincere desire to do right by your body. But here's the uncomfortable truth I want to walk you through today. In just the last few weeks of 2026, a wave of large, serious research has landed. And a lot of the supplements we've been told are non-negotiable for healthy aging are frankly falling apart under scrutiny. Some of them simply don't do what the label promises. A couple of them carry risks nobody warned us about. And one or two actually hold up beautifully when you understand how to use them. Today we're going to separate the proven from the hype, study by study in plain English. And I want to say this clearly right at the top because it matters. I am not anti-supplement. I take quite a few of them. I sell beautiful, clean, science-backed products, and I believe in targeted supplementation when it's done thoughtfully. So what I'm against is the idea that you can outsource your health to a pill cabinet and skip the foundation. The food, the movement, the labs, the sleep, the hormones, right? Taking GLP-1s, whatever it is that you're taking, instead of really doing the foundation of the food and movement and sleep and managing your hormones. So that's the lens we're using all the way through today. And let's get into it. So I want to talk about calcium and vitamin D. This is a real bombshell. Let's start with the big ones, right? Because it touches almost everyone listening, especially women over 45. For decades, the advice has been carved into stone. As you age, take calcium and vitamin D to protect your bones, prevent fractures, and keep you from falling. Doctors recommend it. Guidelines recommend it. Prescriptions for vitamin D have climbed dramatically in recent years, and it feels like settled science. Well, a major review published in the BMJ in June of 2026, that's this month, just challenged that to its core. And this wasn't a small study. Researchers in Canada pooled the results of 69 randomized controlled trials. That's the gold standard, right? That's checking all these randomized controlled trials involving nearly 154,000 adults. That's a lot of people. And they looked at calcium alone, vitamin D alone, and the two combined. And they compared them against placebo and no treatment to see whether these supplements actually reduce fractures and falls. And here's what they found. For most older adults living independently, calcium, vitamin D, or both together provided little to no clinically meaningful protection against fractures or falls. So let me unpack that phrase because usually you need to practice on your balance. You need to do jump training to strengthen your bones, and you need to practice your balance so that you don't fall. Because I want to unpack this because it is the heart of the matter, is the researchers did something earlier studies often didn't. Before they started, they defined what a genuinely meaningful benefit would look like for a real person, not a statistical blip, but an actual noticeable reduction in broken bones. And this is where so much supplement marketing falls apart. Older analyses love to report relative risk reduction, which can make a tiny effect sound enormous. Picture a supplement that drops your fracture risk by 2% down to about 1.8% on oh, right, that's really low. And on paper, a company can advertise that as a 9% relative reduction. Sounds impressive, right? But the actual absolute difference is less than 0.2 of 1 percentage point. That's the magic trick. The 2026 review insisted on measuring the real world drop. And when they did, the meaningful benefit largely evaporated. This is just so fascinating. Now, the researchers were careful and honest, and I want to be also. They noted that some analysis involves smaller numbers of trials, so a few findings should be read with caution. And critically, this does not apply to everyone. If you have diagnosed osteoporosis, if you're on medication for bone loss, if you have a specific deficiency confirmed by lab work or a particular bone disorder, this is a completely different conversation, and you should keep working with your provider. But for the average healthy older woman taking these pills as a general insurance policy, the authors said plainly that the evidence does not support routine supplementation for that purpose, and they called on guidance panels and regulators to revisit the recommendations. Now, when we're talking about vitamin D just for hip fractures and bone, there's a lot more that goes into the vitamin D supplementation than just hip fractures and falls and bone loss, because really the science is behind bone loss and fractures. You need to lift weights, jump rope, doing jumping jacks, doing jump off a stair. You need to work on your balance. These are the real things that work. And if it helps you to understand how we got here, because the belief runs deep, for 2 generations, we were marketed the idea that strong bones come from a glass of milk and a calcium tablet. The dairy campaigns were everywhere. And remember the milk mustache ads? And the message was simple and sticky. But simple and sticky isn't the same as true. The body is far more complex than a single mineral going into a single bone. Calcium needs the right hormonal environment, the right vitamin and mineral cofactors, the mechanical signal of movement, and an actual metabolic reason to be deposited into bone rather than parked somewhere you don't want it. A pill drops calcium into the system and crosses its fingers. It's not a plan, it's a hope. And if you want to support your bones through nutrition, which you should, food is a smarter delivery system. Calcium is abundant in things like sardines with the soft bones, leafy greens such as collards and bok choy, plain yogurt and kefir, almonds and white beans. Vitamin D comes from sensible sun exposure and from fatty fish and egg yolks. When you get these nutrients from food, they arrive packaged with the protein, magnesium, vitamin K, and other partners your body actually uses to build bone. Context the isolated tablet simply can't provide. So what does work for your bones? This is where I get excited because the answer is so empowering. Resistance training, weight-bearing movement, carrying things, carrying heavy groceries. Like when I grocery shop, I don't grab a cart. I have my bags with me and I start putting my items into the bags and I carry those bags everywhere for my weight-bearing movement. Climbing stairs, lifting heavier than feels comfortable. Bone is living tissue and it responds to load and stress by getting stronger. Something no capsule can replicate. Pair that with adequate protein, vitamin D, and calcium from real food and sensible sunlight, and you have a bone strategy with far more evidence behind it than the supplement aisle. The pill was never the foundation. Your muscles are. This episode is brought to you by Larson Botanicals, where clean, science-forward little line made for the women who reads her labels and refuses to put junk on her skin or in her body. Because here's the thing about everything we just discussed. Hormones change everything as we age, and your bones, your skin, and your energy all feel it. That's exactly why I formulated my hormone supportive collection at larsonbotanicals.com. Clean, thoughtfully sourced products designed to work with a woman's changing biology, not against it. No endocrine disrupting fillers, no mystery fragrance, no greenwashed nonsense. Just clean ingredients you can pronounce. Go to larsonbotanicals.com and explore the hormone supportive line today. Your future self and your future bones will thank you. Now let's talk about the glucosamine warning nobody saw coming. So the next study is one I genuinely did not expect, and it's the one I most want you to hear if you have an aging parent, and if you've been reaching for joint support yourself. It's about glucosamine. Glucosamine is one of the most popular supplements in America. It sits on every pharmacy shelf and grocery aisle, taken daily by tens of millions of older adults for joint pain and osteoarthritis. That's why I got rid of conventional wheat and pasta, because that's what was causing arthritis and joint pain in me. It's so routine that most people don't even mention it to their doctor. It just lives quietly in the morning pill organizer, which is exactly why this finding matters so much. On June 9th, 2026, just a few weeks ago, University of Florida published a study in the journal Natural Metabolism. Using artificial intelligence, they analyzed de-identified health records from their hospital system spanning 12 years, from 2012 to 2024. They focused on two groups: people already diagnosed with Alzheimer's and related dementias, and people with mild cognitive impairment, that early stage of memory trouble that can sometimes be a precursor to Alzheimer's. Their data set was large, roughly 24,000 patients with dementia and 41,000 with mild cognitive impairment. And within those groups, about 8% reported taking glucosamine. And here's what the analysis showed. After they controlled for age, sex, and demographics, people with mild cognitive impairment who took glucosamine were about 25% more likely to progress to full dementia than those who didn't take it. That's astounding new research. And among people already living with Alzheimer's and related dementia, glucosamine use was linked to a 25% higher risk of dying within the follow-up period. Now take a breath with me here, because I want to be responsible about this. I'm not telling you glucosamine causes Alzheimer's. The researchers themselves were empathetic that this study does not prove cause and effect. This is an association found in health records, a red flag, not a verdict. People who take glucosamine might differ in other ways than the data could fully capture. But here's why scientists are paying close attention rather than shrugging it off. The team didn't stop at the records. They went into the biology. Glucosamine crosses the blood-brain barrier, meaning it actually reaches the brain. And they found evidence that it may feed into a sugar tagging pathway, because sugar is a big problem for people with dementia and Alzheimer's. And the fact that it feeds into a sugar tagging pathway, a metabolic process that is already overactive and disrupted in the Alzheimer's brain. In other words, there's a plausible mechanism for why a vulnerable brain might be uniquely sensitive to this compound. Interestingly, that mortality spike showed up in the established dementia group, but not in the mild impairment group, which hints that the already fragile Alzheimer's brain is the most susceptible. I want you to appreciate the scale of how they did this, because it's part of why the finding carries weight. Rather than a small clinical survey, the team used artificial intelligence to comb through more than a decade of real-world hospital records, the messy, enormous reality of how tens of thousands of actual patients lived and aged. Then, instead of treating a statistical pattern as the whole story, They cross-checked it against advanced imaging of human brain tissue in mouse models of Alzheimer's to look for a biological reason behind the numbers. That combination, population data plus mechanism, is exactly what separates a finding worth discussion from internet noise. So what do you do with this? If you have no cognitive concerns and you're taking glucosamine for your knees, this single study is not a reason to panic. But, and this is the conversation I'd have with my own family, if you have a family history of Alzheimer's, existing memory difficulties, or a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment, this is absolutely worth raising with your healthcare provider before your next bottle. And if your goal is joint comfort, remember that the most powerful anti-inflammatories we have are not in a supplement bottle at all. They're on your plate, in your sleep, and how you move. We'll come back to that, to what the evidence does support for joints in just a bit. So let's talk about the booming world of brain and focus supplements. The nootropics, the limitless powders, the capsules promising laser concentration and mental performance. One ingredient shows up again and again in these products. It's an amino acid called tyrosine. And tyrosine is a real building block your body uses. It helps make neurotransmitters like dopamine, which influence mood, motivation, and cognition. Now, that's the whole pitch. Take more, think sharper. It's marketed heavily for focus and stress support, but a study published in the Journal of Aging analyzed health and genetic data from more than 270,000 people in the UK Biobank, and the findings give me real pause. Researchers looked at blood levels of two related amino acids, phenylalanine and tyrosine, and how they tracked with lifespan. Using both observational data and a genetic technique called Mendelian randomization, which helps tease apart whether a relationship might be causal rather than coincidental. And they found that men with higher tyrosine levels tended to have shorter life expectancy. The genetic estimates suggested it could amount to nearly a year of life. Phenylalanine dropped out of the picture once tyrosine was accounted for, and importantly, no significant association showed up in women. Researchers even noted that men naturally tend to run higher tyrosine than women, which may be one thread in the larger story of why the sexes age differently. So here's a crucial caveat, and I never want to overstate a study. This research looked at naturally occurring tyrosine levels in the blood. It did not directly test tyrosine supplements. So we cannot say a focused capsule will shave a year off a man's life. That would be irresponsible. But what we can say is this: an amino acid widely sold as a brain and performance booster is now linked at the population level to shorten lifespan in men. And the mechanism may run through insulin resistance and hormone pathways that differ by sex. So the researchers floated that lowering overall protein intake might reduce tyrosine levels, though whether that helps you age better is still unknown. So here's the part that marketing never mentions. You almost certainly already get plenty of tyrosine. It's found in protein-rich foods like chicken, fish, eggs, dairy, soy, nuts, seeds, which means anyone eating a normal diet is taking it in all day, is taking it in all day long in the balanced, packaged form your body evolved to handle. The nootropics industry sells you a concentrated dose of something you're not short on, wrapped in a promise of superhuman focus. And when you flood the system with an isolated amino acid far beyond food levels, you may be pushing on metabolic levers, insulin sensitivity, hormone signaling in ways that look very different a decade later than they feel the afternoon you take it. And so this is the perfect example of my entire philosophy on supplements. When you take a single isolated compound at a dose that nature never intended, you are running an experiment on yourself. And you often have no idea what downstream pathways you're nudging. Your body evolved to get tyrosine packaged inside whole protein foods, not canned foods, not sodas, not all these packaged goods, alongside hundreds of cofactors in amounts your philosophy knows how to handle. The capsule strips all of the context away. For the men listening or the men you love, before you buy that focus powder, ask whether the focus problem is really a sleep problem, a blood sugar problem, or a stress problem in disguise, because it usually is. And speaking of getting it from your plate, I want to point you to larsonnutrition.com, the home base for everything we talk about on this show. Over at larsonnutrition.com, you'll find my nutritional blogs where I break down studies exactly like the ones in today's episode into language that actually makes sense. No jargon, no fear mongering. You'll find my collection of delicious, genuinely healthy recipes, the kind that deliver nutrients in the form your body recognizes, so you can stop relying on bottles and start trusting your meals. And of course, it's the home of the Larson Health Podcast, where every week we dig into real nutrition and health insights you can use. So when this episode sparks a question, come find the answer at larsonnutrition.com. Recipes, blogs, and the podcast all in one place. Now let's talk about the two supplements that probably feel the most untouchable: the multivitamin, the fish oil. These are the products people take on autopilot, the ones that feel like simple being a responsible adult. So let's look honestly at what the long-term evidence shows. The daily multivitamin. Roughly 1 in 3 American adults take a multivitamin, most of them hoping it will help them live longer and prevent chronic disease. But a large analysis that followed nearly 390,000 generally healthy adults for more than 2 decades found that daily multivitamin use was not associated with any reduction in the risk of dying. Now, let that sink in. 20 plus years of follow-up, hundreds of thousands of people, and the longevity benefit so many of us assume we're buying simply wasn't there for healthy adults eating a typical diet. That doesn't mean a multivitamin is useless for everyone. There are absolutely people with restricted diets, absorption issues, pregnancy, or specific deficiencies who benefit. But as a blanket strategy to extend your life, the evidence just doesn't back the story on the label. There's also a simple physiology point worth knowing. Many of the vitamins in a standard multi or water soluble, the B vitamins and vitamin C, for instance, when you take more than your body needs in that moment, you don't bank it. You flush a good portion of it out. That's an old joke among clinicians that supplement takers have the most expensive urine in town. And there's truth in it. Megadosing, a nutrient you already get from food, often produces nothing but pricier bathroom trips. In the case of certain fat-soluble vitamins, taking too much over time can actually cause harm rather than help. More is not better. Adequate is better. And adequate usually comes from a decent diet. Now let's talk about the fish oil capsule, because this is fascinating. I swear by fish oil, a quality omega-3 fish oil with DHA, with the proper amounts in it, because in cases where the food and the supplement may genuinely part ways, the omega-3 fats in fatty fish are wonderful. They support your heart, your brain, your joints, and your mood. And people who eat fish a couple of times a week tend to have lower rates of heart disease. The problem is that bottling those fats into a capsule hasn't reliably produced the magic The clinical trial results for fish oil supplements and heart disease have been genuinely mixed, and a handful of recent studies have even hinted at potential harm in certain contexts rather than benefit. This is why taking quality supplements really matters. Going to Walgreens or the grocery store to buy your supplements isn't a high quality supplement. So I find organic, natural omega-3s work the best. There are real world wrinkles too. Omega-3 fats are delicate and prone to oxidization. So a fish oil capsule that's been sitting in a warm cabinet past its prime may be doing very little for you, or worse. If you're burping up, the fish, that is gone rancid and you should throw it away. You need to take it on a regular basis so that you move through it. I take my omega-3 every day. It has helped me so much with my skin, with my joints. It's an anti-inflammatory. It helps with, not getting arthritis. I mean, I don't eat wheat and pasta anymore because that caused arthritis in my neck and in my knee. And sure enough, if I have a little bit of wheat, somebody brought some cinnamon rolls and okay, I'll have a little bit. I had pain in my knee going down the stairs. It's just not worth it to me. Take those omega-3s and avoid the inflammatory foods. So the consistent message from the research is the one I come back to again and again. Get these nutrients from food first. A piece of wild salmon, some sardines, a handful of walnuts, ground flax in your smoothie. Real food delivers omega-3s in a living matrix your body knows how to use. Now, I don't eat salmon and sardines every day. Sometimes I have red meat. Sometimes I have chicken, but I do love my sardines. It's so funny. When I was a kid, I was like, ugh, sardines. Ugh. Yuck. But then I tried sardines. Now, granted, I don't have any bones in mine, no soft bones, but I take omega-3. It's packed in extra virgin olive oil. I add some lime juice or some lemon juice. I add some spicy spice, maybe some black garlic salt, and it is so delicious. These are fresh sardines, freshly packed. They are delicious. And they are omega-3s. Now I'm trying to get them at least once a week, but I also take a quality omega-3 supplement from Zinzino. And that really does make a difference. It helped me with my eye, that I had something going on in my eye. They were putting shots in my eye. I was devastated by this. They were like, oh, you're going to have to do this forever. I started taking the omega-3s and it stopped the problem that was going in my eye. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's something that happens to a lot of people in the Midwest. It's a spore that gets into your body, maybe when you're gardening or something. And that spore can show up in your eyes and cause fluids to leak within your eye. So that's what was happening with me. And they were putting a drug into my eye that was like a cancer drug, and it was stopping it. And then it would start to come back again. Well, started taking the omega-3s and it disappeared. It also is an anti-inflammatory, but I take a high quality omega-3 and I take it every day and it stays fresh. So are you noticing the pattern across all 4 of these supplements, like calcium, vitamin D, multivitamins, fish oil? In every case, the thing that holds up is the whole food and the lifestyle. And the thing that underwhelms is the isolated pills standing in for them. It's not a coincidence. There's a biology telling us something. I promised you this episode wasn't going to be all bad news, and I meant it, because in this same stretch of 2026, a beautiful piece of research came out that shows what good supplement science looks like and gives credit where it's genuinely due. The supplement? Collagen. Collagen, researchers at Anglia Ruskin University published what may be the most comprehensive look at collagen ever assembled. An umbrella review pooling 16 systemic reviews and 113 randomized controlled trials with nearly 8,000 participants. And these findings were refreshingly clear and specific. Collagen supplementation produced meaningful, measurable improvements in skin elasticity, skin hydration, skin density. But, and this is the key, only when taken consistently for at least 8 to 12 weeks. I can tell you, we take a high quality collagen peptide into our coffee every morning. And we've been doing this for years. And not only the skincare product that I use, but I mean, my skin is looking amazing from this collagen peptide. That we were taking a different collagen before. We started the collagen peptide probably about 2.5 months ago, and all of it makes a difference. So this is not an overnight miracle. It's slow, steady benefit that rewards patience. For joints, the review found consistent evidence of reduced pain and improved function in people with osteoarthritis and activity-related joint discomfort, particularly with hydrolyzed collagen peptides and undenatured type 2 collagen, undenatured type 2 collagen. Remember those aching knees we worried about in the glucosamine segment? Here's a far better supported option to discuss with your provider. The review also found modest benefits for muscle and tendon health, encouraging for healthy aging. And just as important, the study told us where collagen does not live up to the hype. Despite all the marketing aimed at the gym crowd, collagen showed little effect on sports performance, muscle recovery, or post-workout soreness. It is not a workout supplement. Knowing that saves you money and disappointment. That, my friends, is what honest science gives you. Not this is magic or this is garbage, but here is exactly what it does, how long it takes, and what it won't do. So let me give you my framework, right? The questions I want you to ask before anything goes into your cart. First, is there real large-scale human evidence for the specific benefit I want, or just a compelling story? Second, am I taking this for a confirmed need, a lab value, a diagnosis, a life stage, or out of vague hope and habit? Third, could the same money and effort go toward the food, the movement, or the sleep that the evidence keeps pointing back to? Fourth, have I told my actual doctor every single thing in my cabinet, including the harmless joint pill? And fifth, is the product itself clean, free of fillers, junk, and endocrine disrupting additives, and from a company that respects your biology? When I shop for my supplements, I look for the ingredient label, and I look for specifically that it has the right amounts and how much of the amounts of each supplement does it have. Like I still take turmeric with curcumin, ginger, and black pepper, and that is also an anti-inflammatory. And I just make sure that that's all that's in there. There's no fillers in there. What is the capsule made out of? I look at everything. The last question is everything, and it's the standard I hold my own products to. Let me add 2 practical notes that collagen study makes beautifully because they apply to almost any supplement worth taking. First, duration and consistency matter more than intensity. The skin benefits didn't show up in a week. They built over 8 to 12 weeks of steady use. So many women try something for 10 days, feel nothing, and quit. And when the real benefit was still weeks away, if a product is worth taking, commit to a real trial period and track how you feel. And second, the form and quality matter enormously. The joint benefits clustered around specific, well-studied types of collagen, not whatever generic powder happened to be cheapest. Look for products that tell you exactly what's inside, that use the form studied in the research, and ideally that carry third-party testing so you know the label matches the bottle. A clean, transparent formulation isn't a luxury. There is an app that you can use called Suppco, S-U-P-P-Co, and they will help you pick out vitamins. They do research on the vitamins. It's a free app, and you'll get ideas on a proper good supplement. And it's the difference between an evidence-based choice and an expensive guess. Which brings me to the part of this I'm genuinely proud of. If today taught us anything, It's that consistency with clean, well-formulated products beats a cabinet full of empty promises. And that's the entire reason Larson Botanicals exists. At larsonbotanicals.com, my clean skincare line is built on the same philosophy you've heard all episode. Real ingredients, no toxic fillers, formulated to work with your body. My advanced bioactive face cream and face serums are designed to support your skin's structure and hydration over time. The same patient consistently approached the collagen research just validated. Rounded out with my nourishing eye cream for that delicate skin that shows age first, right? I have some wrinkles, but I see women who are 58 and they have a lot more wrinkles than I have. This is amazing what's happening with the collagen and also with the skincare line that I'm using. And the line goes well beyond your face. I've created a clean deodorant because what you put under your arms matters. I got Dirty Hippie. I got Sunshine Whip. I've got the Woods. I've got a new bug repellent that is all natural, organic ingredients. I can't wait to use it. I'm going to be at Soul Fest this weekend, SOL Fest it's like South Petoskey area. It's on a farm and they've got music, folk music and electronic music. They got a variety of music. It's a 3-day festival, Friday through Sunday. And I'm going to be using my bug balm because I bet there's going to be all kinds of bites. So I got a 4-ounce and a 2-ounce, 4-ounce for the family, a 2-ounce for you and your maybe significant other. And all of it sits alongside my hormone supportive collection. So the women navigating perimenopause, menopause, and everything after has clean options from head to toe. Visit larsonbotanicals.com and discover the full line today. Clean skincare, clean deodorant, the natural bug balm, and so much more. So let's bring it home. In just a few weeks of 2026, the research told us that calcium and vitamin D don't meaningfully protect most healthy older adults from fractures and falls, but it does help, especially in the people who live in winter where you're not getting natural sun on your skin and you're wearing so much sunscreen you can't get natural sun. Get up in the morning and get at least a half hour of sun before 9 a.m. Get that vitamin D. It's been raining for several days here, so I was not getting my vitamin D. I take my vitamin D. It's more than just your fractures and falls. Your fractures and falls, though, is lifting weights and practicing jump training. Whether you're jumping rope, whether you're jumping off of a stair, whether you're doing jumping jacks, you got to jump. I thought originally like you shouldn't jump after 50. I was wrong. You need to jump. And that glucosamine carries an association with faster cognitive decline that anyone with brain health concerns should take seriously. That the focus boosting amino acid tyrosine is linked to shorter lifespan in men. That the daily multivitamin doesn't extend life for healthy adults. And that fish oil in a capsule doesn't reliably deliver what fish on a plate does. And that collagen used consistently and for the right reasons actually earns its place. If you hear one thing today, let it be this. Your health was never meant to live in a bottle. But if you are somebody who is not a healthy adult, because again, this has all been talking about a healthy adult. If you are not a healthy adult, get quality supplements to help your body with not getting rickets or not getting other diseases that are out there. It lives in the food you choose, the way you move your body, the sleep you protect. Like I try to get to bed by 10 o'clock every night. Sometimes it's a little bit later, like this weekend, it's probably going to be later, but I'm going to try to sleep in later if I can. And the hormones you support and the labs that you tell your doctor about is what you actually need. Supplements can be a thoughtful, targeted layer on top of that foundation, never a substitute for it though. Be the woman who reads the study, asks the better question, and stops paying for hope. Audit that cabinet this week. Take a photo of every bottle, bring it to your next appointment and ask for each one, what's the real evidence? And do I actually need this? Use a AI tool, use ChatGPT or Claude or something and have it check your vitamins. Do that, and you're already ahead of almost everyone walking down the supplement aisle on autopilot. You can listen to the Larson Health Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and anywhere you like to watch or listen to your favorite podcasts. You can watch full episodes on YouTube and snippets on social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where I also share behind-the-scenes clips, recipes, and bonus insights from my coaching practice. And if you're ready to take your health to the next level, visit larsonnutrition.com and larsonbotanicals.com to learn about my personalized programs, hormone supportive meal plans and products, and one-on-one functional nutrition coaching. Thanks for joining me today, and hope you have a fabulous weekend and the sun is shining on you.